بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of 40 hadith. Today we start with hadith 12. بسندي المتصل إلى محمد بن يعقوب. Imam Khomeini says, through my own chain of narration which connects to Muhammad ibn Yaqub al-Kulaini, the compiler of Kafi, Ridwanullah alayh, and Ali ibn Ibrahim, who was Sheikh of Kulaini, from his father Ibrahim ibn Hashim, who was Sheikh of Kafi, from Nawfali, from Sakuni, from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, Kana Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam yaqul. Imam Ali alayhi salam used to say, in Arabic, when we say Kana yaqul, shows frequency. It's something that was not said just once or twice. So we say he used to say, Nabbih بالتفكر قلبك وجاف عن الليل جنبك واتق الله ربك. نبه means awaken or make alert and conscious. Tanbih, which is masdar for nabbaha yunabbihu, means to awaken someone who is asleep, or to make alert someone who is ghafil, who is heedless. So both can be called tanbih. So Imam alayhi salam says, with tafakkur, with thinking, with contemplation, awaken your heart or rescue your heart from heedlessness. وَجَافِ عَنِ اللَّيْلِ جَنْبَكَ. And in the night, take your body away from your bed. Means wake up, do some tahajjud. وَاتَّقِ اللَّهَ رَبَّكَ. And fear God your Lord. So we have three instructions here that Imam Ali used to say this repeatedly. One is about tafakkur, and this is our main topic in this part. One is about tahajjud, and one is about taqwa. So let's start with tafakkur. In ilmul mantiq, in logic, when they call they talk about tafakkur or fikr, they say fikr is حركة الذهن من المراد إلى المبادئ ومن المبادئ إلى المراد. It means that you have a question, you have a matlub, you have a murad, something that you want to understand its situation. your mind, after having this question, this subject, goes to mabadi, to the information and data that you already have, and tries to find among them something that clarify this issue, like two premises that you put together and form an argument, a deduction, a qiyas, so that you know the answer for your question. So you start with a question, you go to mabadi, means to those background information that you have, and then when you find it, come back and clarify this issue. This is tafakkur in logic. But in irfan, in spirituality, tafakkur is narrower, is more defined. Khaja Ansari, or Mullah Abdullah Ansari, the one who has the book Manazilus Sa'irin, the stations of wayfarers, he says, اعلم أن التفكر تلمس البصيرة الاستدراك البغية. And when we do wasl, becomes الاستدراك البغية. اعلم أن التفكر تلمس البصيرة الاستدراك البغية. Be aware that thinking is to seek insight in order to reach your goal. So here it's not just putting some conceptual information together and form a kind of argument. Here tafakkur is to go deeper, not just be at the level of mind and concept and theories. Go deeper into your heart, and with the eyes of your heart, which are looking at malakut, find the answer for your question. And Imam Khomeini says it is clear that the questions here, or what is matlub here, what is the thing that we want and we are seeking, is ma'arif, is ideas and teachings of Quran, of Islam, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ma'arif is more than information. Ma'arif means information about religion or about yourself and Allah and your relation, which are coming from the heart and produce ma'rifah and not just ilm. You become arif and not just alim. So tafakkur, therefore, is related to heart in mystical literature and spirituality. Tafakkur, as we explained, the idea of Mullah Abdullah or Khaja Abdullah Ansari is about heart. And perhaps this is why Imam Ali alayhi salam also says, Nabbih bitafakkure qalbak. With thinking, awaken your heart. Of course, I humbly think that maybe here tafakkur is not necessarily what Urafa say. Even tafakkur in the logical sense, even reviewing your theoretical knowledge, can awaken the heart, because by keeping thinking about them and remembering and reflecting on them, then you remove the partition between mind and heart. If something comes to your mind, and doesn't really provoke you, it remains there. But if something comes to your mind and overwhelms your minds, then it gets into a lower and underlying level, which is heart. With tafakkur, you can grow something in your mind so much, give it so much energy, that then it can sink into your heart. This is the beauty of tafakkur. And this is the beauty of discussion. Discussion is very important. Mubahasa is very important. Not just for memorizing and learning, but mubahasa very much helps in removing partition between mind and heart. May inshallah this partition will be permanently inshallah removed between our mind and heart. You would have mind and heart, but without partition, inshallah. So this is about fiqh, and then he says qalb is used in different sciences, different contexts, in different senses. For example, doctors and lay people, normally when they talk about qalb, they mean this physical organ that is pumping blood. And of course, in physics in the past, they had the idea that a kind of steam soul also is produced here. Philosophers, hukama, they have their own understanding, which is different from medical doctors. Philosophers, when they talk about heart, they mean maqamat nafs, like stations or faculties or some aspects of soul. And Urafa have even something different that Imam Khomeini doesn't discuss and says there is no that much relation with our discussion. Then, after explaining the meaning of Jaffa and al-layl jambak and wattaqillah rabbak, just translation which I did already, he starts first with a chapter on merits of tafakkur, fazilat tafakkur. What is the merit, or what are the merits of thinking? He says there are many merits for it. I mentioned for you some of the things he mentions, and I have highlighted them so that I don't miss them. One is miftah abwab ma'arif. It's the key for doors or gates of ma'arif. If intimate, personal, specific, strong, immediate understanding of your relation with God, which is ma'arif. I put ma'arif in this way. If this is what you want, you have to find doors towards this ma'arif. But these doors are only unlocked and opened with the key of tafakkur. So tafakkur is very important. و کلید خزائن کمالات و علوم است. It is the key for the treasures of perfections and knowledge. و مقدمه لازمه حتمیه سلوک انسانیت. And it is prerequisite, which is necessary and inevitable for human journey, human wayfaring. In the Quran and Hadith, there is great emphasis on tafakkur and also blame for those who don't think. And then he says in Kafi, there is a hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, which he later again mentions this hadith. أفضل العبادة إدمان التفكر في الله وفي قدرته. The best ibadah, the best worship is to think constantly about Allah and His power. We will talk about it later. So if you can continuously think about Allah and His power, that's the best ibadah. In another hadith, it is said that تفكر ساعة أفضل من عبادة for one night. So if you can think maybe half an hour, 15 minutes is better than ibadah of one night. In hadith from Prophet, it says it's better than ibadah to sana, أفضل من عبادة السنة, better than worshipping of 1 year. In another hadith says it's better than worshipping of 60 سنة. تفكر ساعة أفضل من عبادة 60 سنة, better than ibadah of 60 years. In some hadith says 70 years. And he says some of the scholars also have mentioned 1,000 years, depending on the quality of ibadah and the quality of thinking. If your ibadah is without thinking, so it is then the basis. And then depending on the quality of your fiqh is either better than one night of ibadah without fiqh, or better than 1 year, or 6 years, or 70 years. But if your ibadah also has some level of fiqh, then this can be adjusted. For example, maybe someone who thinks 50%, but his ibadah also has elements of thinking 40%, then this tafakkur is better than one night of ibadah. But if the quality of his tafakkur is very high, or the quality of his ibadah is very low with respect to thinking, then it can be 1 year, 60 years, 70 years. I told you once that, for example, one of ulama was asked about an example of how ibadah of 60, 70 years would be less significant than tafakkur sa'a, and he mentioned the example of Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. How much he spent on thinking? Maybe a few hours, maybe a few days maximum, but not constantly. Altogether, a few hours maybe, or few days. But it was better than ibadah of tens of years that he had up to that point. And that tafakkur changed his whole attitude and whole approach in life. Okay. Now he says we have to discuss few levels or stages of thinking in religion. First, thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His names and attributes and perfections. And here he goes into a discussion about whether we are permitted to think about Allah's essence or not. And he comes up with a kind of understanding of the hadith that prohibit thinking about Zatullah, that they are about thinking about the core essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, immersing in thinking about His essence. Otherwise, just thinking and discussing and arguing about His essence is something actually necessary, because we have to prove existence of this wajibul wujud bizzat, or we have to talk about His essence, or we have to prove His attributes. In order to have more time, inshallah, for this discussion, and also because last few weeks we didn't have enough time for question and answer, so I think I stop here, and inshallah next week I will try to explain from this chapter, this part of the chapter. Inshallah, I will talk about how Siddiqeen's argument is related to tafakkur, and then how Imam Khomeini interprets those hadiths that prohibit or discourage thinking about Allah's essence. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable us to be people of thinking and people of intelligence. Inshallah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.